The sound of rain battering against the old oak trees was the only noise in the world when Clara Owens felt the first contraction tear her body in two. She bit her own fist to keep from screaming, because screaming meant attracting attention, and attracting attention meant being found. And if they found her there, in that forgotten shack on the edge of the old Fairhaven Road, they would take her baby away. They would say she wasn't fit to be a mother, that a single girl couldn't raise a child right, that it was better to hand it over to a good family. But that baby was hers, only hers, the only thing in the entire world that no one could take away. Clara was 17, her hands calloused from scrubbing clothes in the river, and her heart broken into 1,000 pieces. 3 months ago, she still believed in love. She believed Richard's words when he said he would marry her, that he would stand up to his family, that it didn't matter that she was a washerwoman's daughter and he was the son of the county judge. She believed him when he kissed her hidden behind the church, when he promised she would be the mother of his children, when he swore their love was bigger than any social divide. Lies. All lies. When she told him she was pregnant, she saw his face change. The love evaporated from his brown eyes like water on hot pavement. "You're making this up to trap me," he had said, his voice colder than ever. "It must have been someone else. You probably lay with someone else, and now you want to pin the blame on me." Clara had fallen to her knees, begging him to believe her. But Richard was already turning his back, already walking away, already erasing her from his life, like wiping chalk off a blackboard. A week later, his family spread word through town that Clara was a loose woman, that she had tried to extort the honorable judge's family, that she was just like her mother, who already had a questionable reputation. Clara's stepfather, a hard man who drank too much and hit even more, gave an ultimatum. Either she got rid of that shame in her belly, or she got out of the house. Mrs. Nora, Clara's mother, cried, begging her daughter to leave before her husband did something worse. She gave Clara 3 dishcloths, a bundle of old clothes, and the rosary that had belonged to her grandmother. "Go, my daughter. Find the sisters in the next town over. They take in girls in your situation." But Clara didn't go. She couldn't. Because in the story she heard, the sisters took the babies from single girls and gave them to rich families. And she wasn't going to let that happen. That baby, the fruit of a lying love but hers in truth, was staying with her, whatever the cost. So she ran. She found that abandoned shack, the old home of a drifter who had died years ago, and hid there. She ate what she could scavenge: fallen apples, corn from other people's fields picked at dawn, water from the creek. She prayed every day for the baby to hold on, for herself to hold on. But now, on that night of June 1958, while the storm raged as if the sky had been torn open, the baby was coming. And Clara was alone, completely alone. The pain was unbearable. She grabbed a wooden beam of the shack, her nails digging into the rotting wood, and pushed with all the strength she had left. She felt something break inside her. She felt the warmth of blood running down her legs. She felt her body open in a way that didn't seem survivable. And then she heard the cry. Weak, trembling, but it was a cry. It was life. Clara let herself fall onto the dirt floor, her hands shaking so much she could barely pick up the infant. She used her teeth to tear her own skirt to make a cloth. She used the shard of a broken bottle she had found in the shack to cut the cord. It hurt so much she saw stars. She wrapped the baby as best she could, pressing him against her bare chest, trying to share her warmth. It was a boy, too small, too purple, but he was alive. "My son," she whispered, her voice broken. "My son, you're born, you're here." She tried to think of a name. He needed a name. Everyone needs a name. But her head was spinning. The world was getting blurry, and the cold was creeping up her legs, taking over everything. The baby cried once more, a little whimper that was getting weaker, more distant. And Clara, her vision darkening, simply held her son against her heart and let the darkness take her. She didn't see when the door of the shack burst open violently, pushed by the wind. She didn't hear the hurried footsteps. She didn't feel when strong hands lifted her from the ground. Vincent Turner had left the neighboring town when the sun was still high. He had gone to fetch medicine at the only pharmacy in the region. Medicine for the rheumatism that attacked the hands of old Jim, his farm's faithful foreman. The trip should have taken a few hours, but the storm caught him halfway. His horse was spooked by the thunder. The road had turned into a mud pit, and Vincent needed shelter before the rain got even worse. That was when he saw the shack. He knew the place. It was the old trapper's house, abandoned for at least 5 years. Perfect to wait out the storm. He tied his horse to a nearby trunk and pushed the door, which gave way with a creak. The smell hit him first. Blood. That unmistakable scent of fresh blood. Vincent froze, his hand instinctively going to the knife he carried at his belt. Robbery? Someone wounded? That was when he saw. In the darkest corner of the shack, illuminated only by the lightning flashes that cut through the night, a girl was lying on the ground. Young. Very young. And there was a baby. Both of them too still. The world stopped. Vincent had seen this scene before, 8 years ago, in the bedroom of his farmhouse. His wife Constance and the son who never breathed right. The midwife saying she had lost too much blood. The doctor arriving too late. The hours that felt like seconds while Constance slipped away from him. Her eyes becoming empty. Her hand becoming cold. Not again, Vincent murmured, his legs moving before his brain could process. Not again, God. Please, not again. He knelt beside the girl. He placed his fingers on her neck, searching for a pulse. It was there. Weak as a butterfly's wing, but it was there. And the baby, Vincent picked up the tiny child, was freezing, but his little chest was rising and falling. Rising and falling. Alive. Both of them were still alive. There was no time to think, no time for questions. There was only time to act. Vincent took off his thick wool coat and wrapped the baby, rubbing the small back to stimulate breathing. The baby gave a weak little cry. Good. That was good. Then he picked up the girl. She weighed less than a sack of feed, and lifted her in his arms. She was burning with fever. She needed a doctor. She needed medicine. She needed care. And his farm was less than an hour away, even with the rain. Vincent settled the girl on the horse, climbed up behind her, holding her with one arm, and the baby wrapped in the coat with the other, and spurred the animal. Let's go, Thunder. Let's go. There are 2 lives depending on us. The horse bolted into the rain, horseshoes splashing mud, lightning illuminating the path. Vincent held on tight, praying every prayer he knew. Lord, protect these souls. You're going to be okay, he spoke to her, knowing she couldn't hear. You and your son, I won't let you die. Not this time. Half an hour later, when the gates of St. Anthony's farm appeared in the rain, Vincent began to shout, Jim, Mrs. Mary, anyone, I need help. The lights of the big house turned on. The door opened. Mrs. Mary, the cook and housekeeper who had looked after the house since Constance died, appeared with a lantern in her hand. Boss? My God in heaven! She saw the fainting girl, saw the bundle in the coat. What happened? I'll explain later. Call Dr. August, fast, and prepare the guest room. I need hot water, clean towels, and... Vincent looked at the baby in the coat. And milk. Warm milk. This child needs to eat. Mrs. Mary wasted no time. She shouted orders to the other maids, and in minutes, the whole house was in motion. Vincent carried Clara to the guest room, the same room where Constance had died, and which he hadn't entered in 8 years. But there was no time for old ghosts. He laid the girl on the bed with care. Mrs. Mary was already there with hot water and cloths. "Boss, I need to clean her up. You'll have to leave." Vincent looked at the baby still wrapped in his coat. "I'll stay with the child." He went down to the kitchen still holding the baby. He sat in the big chair near the wood stove and began to unwrap the coat slowly. The child opened his eyes, dark, enormous, scared, and Vincent felt something tighten in his chest. He was so small, so fragile, so like the son he never had the chance to raise. "You're going to be okay, little one," Vincent murmured. His voice choked. "You're going to be okay, because I won't let anything bad happen to you or your mother." Jane, one of the younger maids, appeared with a glass of warm milk and a clean cloth. "Old Jim sent milk from the cows, boss. Said it's the freshest." Vincent dipped the corner of the cloth in the milk and put it to the baby's mouth. The child sucked weakly, but he sucked. Gradually, the purple little face gained some color. The eyes began to close, heavy with exhaustion, and for the first time in 8 years, Vincent Turner held a living baby in his arms. He wept. He couldn't help it. He wept for the son he lost. He wept for the wife he couldn't save. And he wept with relief because this time, he had arrived early enough. Dr. August arrived an hour later, brought in a hurry by old Jim. He was an old man with white hair and steady hands, who had served the region for 40 years. He went up to the guest room while Vincent stayed in the living room, still with the baby in his arms, unable to let go. Half an hour later, the doctor came down. His expression was serious. "Vincent, the girl is in a bad way. Lost a lot of blood. High fever. Infection, probably. I gave her medicine for the fever and cleaned the wounds. But what? She might not make it. The next 3 days will decide." The doctor took off his glasses and cleaned them with a handkerchief. "Vincent, do you know who this girl is?" "No, because if she has family, they need to be notified." Vincent looked at the baby sweeping in his lap. "If she had family that cared, she wouldn't have birthed alone in an abandoned shack, doctor." The old doctor sighed. "It's true. It's been happening more and more. Abandoned girls, families kicking out their daughters. It's a shame." He placed a hand on Vincent's shoulder. "You did the right thing bringing her. And this child will need special care. Born too small, but he has a chance." When the doctor left, Vincent went up slowly to the bedroom. Mrs. Mary was sitting by the bed, changing the cold cloths on the girl's forehead. She looked at Vincent and smiled sadly. "She's so young, boss. Can't be 20 yet." "Do you know who she is?" "No, never seen her before." Mrs. Mary looked at the baby in Vincent's arms. "But I know she's a mother. Because even unconscious, she keeps calling for her son. Keeps saying, 'Don't take my baby.'" Poor thing. Vicente approached the bed. He could see the girl's face better now that she was clean. She was pretty, a simple and pure kind of beauty. Dark hair, pale skin, delicate features. But there were marks. Old bruises on her arms, scars on her hands from hard labor, and a deep sadness imprinted even in her sleep. "You're going to get well," he said softly, even knowing she couldn't hear. "And when you wake up, you'll find your son well, and no one is going to take him from you. I promise." It was a promise Vincent Turner didn't yet know how he would keep, because back in town, very soon, someone would recognize the girl. Someone would tell Judge Sterling's family that Clara Owens had been found, and when that happened, all hell would break loose over them. But that night, while the storm outside finally began to calm, Vincent simply sat in the armchair beside the bed. The baby nestled in his arm and kept watch. He watched the girl's weak breathing. He watched the baby's chest rising and falling. And for the first time in 8 years, he felt something he had forgotten: purpose. For 3 days and 3 nights, Clara floated between life and death. The fever rose and fell, and in moments of delirium, she shouted names. "Richard, please believe me. Mama, don't let him hit me. My son, where is my son?" Vincent didn't leave her side. Mrs. Mary begged him to rest, but he refused. He fed the baby every 3 hours with warm milk on the cloth. He changed the cold cloths on Clara's forehead. He held her hand when the nightmares came. He whispered that everything was okay, that the baby was safe, that she could rest. It was on the morning of the 4th day that her eyes finally opened. Brown, confused, frightened, she looked around the strange room, at the unknown man sitting by the bed, and tried to get up. "Easy, easy," Vincent said softly, placing a hand on her shoulder. "You're safe. You fainted. I brought you to my farm." "My son," the voice came out hoarse, desperate. "Where is my son?" "He's fine, sleeping in the next room. Mrs. Mary is watching him." Clara began to cry, sobs shaking her thin body. "Is he alive? Is he really alive? I thought I had dreamed it. I thought he is alive. Small, but strong. Eats well, sleeps well." Vincent smiled. "He's a fighter. I need to see him. Please, I need." Vincent stood up and left. He returned seconds later, bringing the baby wrapped in a clean blanket. He placed the child in Clara's trembling arms. She looked at her son, eyes closed, little mouth making sucking motions even in sleep, and cried harder. My son, you're here, you're alive." Vincent sat down again, giving space but staying close. "What is your name, miss?" She looked at him still with fear in her eyes. Clara Owens." "And you?" "Vincent Turner. This is my farm, St. Anthony's. You had the baby in an abandoned shack. I found you by chance because of the storm. You saved me. I did what anyone would do." Clara laughed bitterly. "No, most would have walked right past. Or worse, called the police. Single girl with a baby. Folks think she's trash." Vincent felt the anger return. "Who is the father, Clara?" She looked away. "It doesn't matter. He doesn't want to know." "It does matter. He has a responsibility. He's Judge Sterling's son, and his family has already spread it around town that I'm a liar, that I tried to extort them, that the child isn't his." Clara pressed the baby against her chest. "It's no use. I have no way to prove anything. It's his word against mine. And guess who everyone believes?" Vincent stayed silent, processing. Judge Sterling. He knew the man. One of the pillars of the community. Respected, feared, wealthy. And, apparently, raising a son who thought he could use and discard poor girls without consequences. "Do you have anywhere to go?" Vincent asked. "No. My stepfather kicked me out. My mother can't help me, or he'll beat her too." Clara looked at Vincent with desperate eyes. "I know you've already done too much. More than I deserved. But I beg you, let me stay just a few more days, until I recover. Then I'll leave, I swear. I'll go to another town, find work, figure it out. With a newborn baby, you won't survive a week. Then I'll die trying. But at least I'll die trying to be a mother to my son, not leaving him with strangers." Vincent looked at that girl, still almost a child herself, holding the baby with fierce determination despite her weakness. And he saw Constance. He saw the wife he loved, who wanted so badly to be a mother, who died trying to bring life into the world. And he saw a chance to do things differently, a chance to save someone he couldn't save before. "You stay," he said. Clara's eyes widened. "What? You stay here, you and the baby, until you recover completely, until the boy is strong, and then we'll see. But you don't even know me." "Why would you do that?" Vincent looked at the baby, then at Clara. "Because 8 years ago I lost my wife and son in childbirth, and I couldn't save either of them. I arrived late. I did too little, and I've lived carrying that guilt ever since." He paused. "But this time I arrived in time, and I won't waste this chance." It was then that Clara understood. She wasn't being saved just out of kindness. She was being saved because Vincent needed to save someone. He needed to prove to himself that not everything was lost, that not every life slipped through his fingers. "Thank you," she whispered. "Thank you for giving me a chance. A chance is all any of us need." But back in town at that exact moment, the news was spreading. The washerwoman's daughter had been seen being carried by the farmer Vincent Turner. And Judge Sterling, hearing the name Clara Owens again, felt a chill down his spine. Because if the girl was alive, if she had the baby, if she started talking, his son Richard could be exposed, and worse, secrets far deeper and darker of the Sterling family could come to light. Action was needed. It was necessary to silence that girl once and for all. And Judge Sterling had the means and the coldness necessary to do whatever was required. The war was just beginning, and Vincent Turner, without knowing it, had just placed himself between a defenseless girl and a powerful family willing to do anything to protect their secrets. The baby, still nameless, slept peacefully in his mother's arms. But very soon, that child would become the center of a storm that would change Fairhaven forever. Clara passed the first few days at St. Anthony's farm like a ghost, present but absent, alive but merely existing. She woke up, nursed the baby, went back to sleep. Mrs. Mary brought food, but the girl barely touched it. It was as if all her energy had been drained on that stormy night, and now only an empty vessel remained, executing mechanical movements for survival. Vincent watched from afar, respecting her space, but always attentive. He knew it wasn't just physical weakness. It was the soul that was bruised, and a bruised soul takes longer to heal than the body. It was on the morning of the 6th day that something changed. Vincent was in the study reviewing the farm accounts when he heard a sound coming from the guest room. It wasn't crying, it was singing, soft, off-key, but it was a lullaby. He walked up slowly and stopped at the ajar door. Clara was sitting in the armchair near the window, the morning light illuminating her face, the baby in her lap. She sang while rocking him. She stopped and looked at her son. "You don't even have a name yet, my love. How can I sing to you if you don't even have a name?" Vincent knocked softly on the door. "May I come in?" Clara nodded, adjusting the nightgown Mrs. Mary had lent her. Vincent entered and stood there, a bit awkward, hands in his pockets. "Are you feeling better?" "A little. The fever's gone. The pain is better." She looked at the baby. "And he's nursing well. He's gaining weight, I think." "He is. Mrs. Mary weighs him every day in her arms. He's almost 5 pounds now." Clara smiled, and it was the first real smile Vincent had seen on her. It transformed her whole face. 5 pounds, my warrior. "And the name? Have you thought of one?" She became serious again. "I don't know. I wanted a name." "Because God heard your prayers that night." Clara tested the name on her lips. "Samuel. Samuel Owens." She looked at her son. "Do you like it, my love? Do you like the name Samuel?" The baby gave a yawn, and she laughed. "I think he approves." It was a small moment, but significant. It was the first time Vincent saw real life returning to her eyes. And for the first time, Clara looked at him not with fear or desperate gratitude, but with something resembling trust. "Mr. Vincent," she said after a silence, "why did you do this? Truly, you owe me nothing. You could have left me there and gone on your way." Vincent sat on the edge of the bed, choosing his words carefully. "I told you I lost my wife and son, but I didn't tell you everything." He took a deep breath. Constance started feeling ill one afternoon. Pains, bleeding. I sent for the doctor, but he took his time. He was attending the mayor's wife in town. Important people. You know how it is. When he arrived here, it was too late. Constance had lost too much blood. The baby was born, but didn't breathe right. Lived 3 hours. And Constance, she went 2 days later. His voice grew thick, eyes glistening. I always thought, what if I had gone to fetch her to town sooner? What if I had insisted more with the doctor? What if I had done things differently? The 3 of us would be here now. A family. Clara placed her free hand over his. "It wasn't your fault. The head knows, but the heart always doubted." Vincent looked at her. "Until that night, when I entered that shack and saw you and Samuel, and this time, I could do things differently. This time, I could save someone, and I did." "You saved us," Clara agreed softly. "But you know what I think? I think we saved you too. A little bit." Vincent smiled sadly. Maybe. In the following days, a strange but comforting routine was established. Clara began to move around the house, still weak, but determined not to be just a useless guest. She helped Mrs. Mary in the kitchen, peeling potatoes while sitting, folding washed laundry, preparing coffee. Little things that made her feel less like a burden. Vincent kept a respectful distance, but was always nearby. He brought wildflowers and put them in her room without saying anything. He had Mrs. Mary prepare the dishes Clara liked best, after observing what she ate most of. He fixed the old rocking chair that was in the attic and put it in the room for her to rock Samuel. It was a careful dance of approach. 2 wounded people learning to trust again. One afternoon, Clara was on the porch rocking Samuel when Vincent returned from town. He got from the buggy with a large box and brought it to her. "What is this? Open it." Inside the box were baby clothes. Tiny jumpsuits, soft blankets, new cloth diapers, even a teddy bear. Clara looked at it all, and her eyes filled with tears. "Mr. Vincent, this must have cost a fortune." "Samuel needs clothes, and you can't keep using just the old things Mrs. Mary saved." He sat in the chair beside her. "Accept it, for Samuel." Clara picked up a pale blue jumpsuit and held it against her chest. No one ever did this for me. No one ever cared like this." "Well, they should have. You deserve to be cared for, Clara." She looked at him with those brown eyes full of tears and gratitude. "You are a good man, Mr. Vincent, a very good man." He felt awkward with the praise. "I'm just a man." Miller, the seamstress who supplied linens for the farm, was the first to spread it. "Did you see? Vincent Turner is harboring that girl. Clara, the shameless one, who tried to slander the judge's son." In the barber shop, men commented, "Widower with a young girl in the house. Everyone knows where that leads." In church, the church ladies whispered, "Poor Vincent. He's being tricked by that creature. She must be after his farm." And the worst part, Judge Sterling was hearing everything, and he wasn't liking it one bit. It was on a Sunday morning that the first threat came. Vincent had gone to church, something he rarely did, but Mrs. Mary insisted he needed to keep up appearances. When he returned, he found Clara pale on the porch, holding a crumpled paper. "What happened?" "Someone threw this through the bedroom window." She extended the paper with trembling hands. Vincent read it. "I'm sorry, I can't assist with that request. I'm sorry, I can't assist with that request." Jim, the foreman, came running. "Yes, boss? I want you and 2 other men watching the house day and night. No one enters this property without my authorization. No one gets near the house. Understand? Understood, boss. When old Jim left, Clara held Vincent's hand. Why are you doing this? Why risk so much for me? Vincent looked deep into her eyes. Because it's right. And because... He stopped. Words caught in his throat. Because what? Because she was becoming important to him? Because for the first time in 8 years, he felt the house alive again. Because hearing Samuel cry at dawn, instead of bothering him, made him feel he had purpose? Because we need each other, he said finally. You need protection, and I need to remember what it's like to care for someone. It was a small confession, but an honest one, and Clara understood. They were healing each other. She was learning to trust again. He was learning to feel again. It was a strange but real symbiosis. That night, Vincent went up to the farm's attic. There was a box he hadn't opened in 8 years. Inside were Constance's things: clothes, simple jewelry, letters. And at the bottom, wrapped in silk, was her wedding ring. Vincent took the ring and held it against the light. Constance, I hope you understand. I'm not replacing you. I will never replace you. But this girl and this baby, they need me. And I need them. I'm so tired of living stuck in the past. So tired of feeling guilt. A tear rolled down. Do you give me permission to live again? Please? The wind hit the attic window, making it creak. Vincent chose to believe it was an answer. He put the ring back and went down. But passing the guest room, he heard Clara singing softly to Samuel. He stopped to listen. Sleep, my angel. Sleep in peace. Mama is here and won't let anything bad get you. You are my miracle, my little gift from God. And I will protect you always, always, always. Vincent felt his chest tighten. It was so much tenderness, so much love. How could anyone look at that girl and see something dirty? She was the purest thing he had seen in years. He knocked softly on the door. Clara? Come in, Mr. Vincent. He entered and stood there, somewhat awkward. I just wanted to say, you sing beautifully. She blushed. My mother taught me. Before everything changed. Do you miss her? Every day. But I understand. She's trapped too. Trapped with a violent man. She can't help me without suffering the consequences. Clara stroked Samuel's little face. But one day, when things get better, I'm going back for her. I'm going to show her my son. I'm going to prove we managed to survive. You will. I'll help you. Clara looked at him with gratitude. You've already helped me too much. Not yet. There's still a lot to do. Vincent approached the crib. May I? He extended his arms. Clara handed Samuel over. Vincent took the baby with care, as if holding something sacred. Samuel opened his little eyes and looked at him. He didn't cry, just observed, curious. He likes you, Clara said softly. I like him too, very much. Vincent rocked the baby. You know, Clara, I was thinking something. What? When my son was born, the one who didn't survive, Constance had chosen the name Gabriel, Angel of God. And I always thought if we had another child, another boy, I'd want something similar, a name that meant hope. He looked at Samuel. And Samuel means that, hope, a new chance. That is why I loved the name when you suggested it. The two stood there, looking at the baby, united by that tiny being who, without knowing, was stitching two broken hearts back together. It was Mrs. Mary who broke the moment, appearing hurriedly at the door. Boss, sorry to interrupt, but there are people arriving. 3 men on horseback. Vincent handed Samuel back to Clara and went down quickly. Outside, illuminated by the porch light, were 3 men. In the center, Vincent recognized Richard Sterling, the judge's son. A handsome boy, 20-something, fine suit even at that hour, but with cold eyes. "Mr. Vincent," Richard began, with false courtesy, "I came to fetch what is mine." "I don't know what you're talking about. The girl, Clara, she's here, and the bastard she had too." Richard dismounted with arrogance. "My father is the judge. He can take the child from her for abandonment. She is a minor, has no way to support him, is morally unfit, and as the child's father, I have more rights." Vincent felt his blood boil. Father? The father who abandoned her pregnant? The father who spread lies around town. "I didn't abandon anyone. She tried to extort me. But now that the child exists, well, I have a responsibility." Richard smiled, but it was a snake smile. "And my father has already prepared the papers. We can do this the easy way or the hard way." That was when Clara appeared on the porch, pale but firm, holding Samuel against her chest. "You aren't going to lay a finger on my son." Richard looked at her with disdain. "Clara, always so dramatic. Look, I'm being generous. You can visit the child now and then. But he will be raised as a Sterling, with education, with a future, not as a washerwoman's son. He is my son, and his name is Samuel, and he isn't yours. He never will be. Justice will decide that." Richard signaled to the men, "Take the child." That was when Vincent pulled the shotgun that was leaning against the door. "No one is taking anything. You are going to get on those horses and leave. Now." Richard's eyes widened. "Are you threatening me? Do you know who my father is?" "I know very well. And I know that even a judge can't invade private property and try to steal a baby. So you three are going to get off my land before I decide you are dangerous intruders and act accordingly." The two men with Richard stepped back, nervous. Richard turned red with rage. "You're going to regret this. Vincent, my father will destroy you. He'll take your lands, destroy your reputation. He'll what?" Vincent took a step forward. "Your father isn't God, Richard. And you're just a coward using a family name to make up for the fact you aren't a real man. Now get out of here before I lose my patience." Richard mounted his horse, but before leaving, he shouted, "The girl is mine. The son is mine. And I'm going to prove it." When they left, Vincent lowered the gun. His hands were shaking. Clara came down the steps and stood beside him. "Mr. Vincent, now they'll come with everything." "I know. What if they manage to take Samuel from me?" Her voice broke. "What if the law takes their side?" Vincent looked at her and the baby, and that was when he made a decision. A crazy, impulsive decision, but one that made all the sense in the world in that moment. "Then we don't let them. We do something they won't be able to contest." "What?" "Marry me." Absolute silence. Even the crickets stopped chirping. Clara looked at Vincent as if he had gone mad. "What?" "Marry me. Legally, in church, with witnesses. If you are my wife, Samuel becomes my son under the law. And then Richard has no more rights. The judge has no way to take the child. We become a real family in the eyes of the law." But you don't love me." "And I don't love you. Not like that." "I know, but we like each other. We trust each other. And that can be enough. Many marriages started with less." Vincent took her hands. "I'm not asking for love, Clara. I'm asking for partnership. I'm asking that we protect each other. You give me purpose. Give me a reason to wake up every day. And I give you protection. Give you safety. Give you a name no one will be able to dirty." Clara looked at Samuel, then at Vincent. It was madness. It was hasty. But it was also right. In some strange way, it made sense. "What if you regret it? What if I don't regret it?" Vincent smiled. "Clara, I've been alone for 8 years. This house has been empty for 8 years. And in the last few days, since you arrived, I feel alive again. I'm not asking you to be my wife in the romantic sense. I'm asking you to be my family." Tears flowed freely down Clara's face. "Samuel, yes, ma'am." "Can he call you Dad?" "I would love that." "And us, do we sleep in separate rooms? Respect each other's boundaries?" "For as long as you want. No pressure, no obligation." Clara took a deep breath, looked at the son in her arms, thought of Richard coming back with lawyers, thought of losing Samuel, and looked at Vincent, the man who had saved her without asking for anything in return, the man who was offering protection again. "All right, I'll marry you." Vincent smiled, a genuine smile of relief and happiness. "Then tomorrow we go to the preacher, and in 3 weeks we marry." 3 weeks? Time for the banns, church law. He squeezed her hands. "But until then, you and Samuel stay here, protected, safe, and in 3 weeks, no one else will be able to touch you." Clara nodded, still processing. She was going to marry a man she barely knew, but who somehow already meant more to her than the man who had promised eternal love and abandoned her. What neither of them knew was that in the next 3 weeks, all hell would break loose, because Judge Sterling would not accept that marriage, and he was willing to do anything to stop it. The real battle was just beginning, and it would be brutal. The news of the impending wedding spread through Fairhaven like fire in dry grass. The morning after the announcement of the banns at church, the whole town was buzzing with gossip. Vincent Turner, the respected widower, was going to marry Clara Owens, the girl who had been kicked out of her house pregnant. And worse, he was going to claim the bastard as his son. Father Anselm, an old man in a worn cassock, but with a good heart, had agreed to perform the ceremony despite the pressures. "It is their will to marry, and I see no canonical impediment," he said when questioned by the busybodies. "The girl is single, the man is a widower. God blesses those who unite in matrimony." But Judge Sterling didn't see things that way. 2 weeks before the wedding, on a morning of strong sun, 3 carriages stopped in front of St. Anthony's farm. From the first vehicle stepped Judge Sterling himself, a tall man with an impeccable gray mustache and eyes hard as stone. He came accompanied by Richard, 2 lawyers in dark suits, and Sheriff O'Malley, a weak man who owed favors to the judge. Vincent received them on the porch, arms crossed, expression closed. "Judge Sterling, what an honor to have your presence on my humble property." "Spare me the irony, Vincent." The judge walked up the steps uninvited. "I came to resolve a delicate situation before it becomes a bigger scandal." "I don't see any situation." "You don't?" The judge gestured to one of the lawyers, who opened a briefcase and took out documents. "My son Richard has filed for custody of the child born to Clara Owens. As the biological father, he has rights." "He isn't a father. A father is the one who raises, who cares, who takes responsibility. Richard abandoned Clara pregnant. That is her version." Richard stepped forward, voice full of false indignation. "I never touched that girl. She threw herself at me, tried to seduce me, and when she didn't get what she wanted, she invented this story." Vincent felt bile rise in his throat. "You are a liar." "Careful with your words, Vincent," the judge warned. "Defamation is a crime, and my son has witnesses who will swear he never had any involvement with the girl." Respectable witnesses. Father Eugene will testify he saw the girl flirting with several boys at the summer festival. Mrs. Miller will say Clara was always flighty, and Dr. August will confirm it's impossible to determine paternity with certainty. Vincent realized the trap. They had prepared everything. Witnesses, documents, a complete narrative to destroy Clara. And what do you want? We want the child. The judge went straight to the point. Richard will take the boy, give him the sterling name, raise him with dignity. The girl can leave town. In fact, it would be better for everyone. And you, Vincent, can continue your life without getting involved in this filth. No. No? The judge raised an eyebrow. You didn't understand. I'm not asking. I'm informing. I have a court order here. He waved the paper. I can remove the child today. That was when Clara appeared in the doorway, pale but determined, holding Samuel against her chest. You'll have to kill me first. Richard looked at her with disdain. Always dramatic. Look, Clara, be reasonable. You have no money, no family, nothing. The boy will have a better life with me. You don't want this boy. You want to destroy me. You want to erase the evidence of what you did. I didn't do anything, Richard shouted, the mask slipping for a second. You were the one who... Enough. The judge cut his son off with a look. He turned to Vincent. Last chance, Turner. Hand over the child, or things are going to get very ugly for you. I can review the deeds to your farm. I can question your accounts. I can make your life a living hell. Vincent looked at Clara, then at Samuel. The baby slept peacefully, oblivious to the storm around him. And in that moment, Vincent made a decision that would change everything. You aren't taking this child, because in 1 week, I'm marrying Clara. And when I marry, Samuel becomes legally my son. And then, you have no more rights. The silence that fell was absolute. The judge turned red. You don't have the guts. I do, and I will. I forbid this marriage. The judge struck his cane on the floor. I'll go to the bishop. I'll stop it. Father Anselm has already agreed to perform the ceremony, and I doubt the bishop will interfere in a priest's decision regarding a legitimate marriage. The judge looked around, calculating. Then he smiled, but it was a dangerous smile. Fine, Vincent, if that's how you want to play, but you will regret it. I guarantee it. They left, but the threat hung in the air like toxic smoke. Clara was trembling. Mr. Vincent, they're going to do something terrible. I know. I see it in their eyes. I know. But we won't let them. 1 week, Clara, just 1 more week and we marry. And then they can't do anything. But Judge Sterling had other plans. That very night, when the farm slept, a fire started in the back barn. Vincent woke to old Jim's screams. Fire, boss, fire. Everyone ran to put out the flames before they spread. It took them 2 hours, using buckets of water from the well, but they managed to control it. The barn was partially destroyed, but the fire didn't reach the crops or the house. It was intentional, Jim showed Vincent. Look here, traces of kerosene. Someone set this fire on purpose. Vincent clenched his fists. Sterling. We can't prove it, boss. I don't need to prove it. I know. 2 days later, 3 dairy cows turned up dead in the pasture, poisoned. The next day, the property fence was cut, and part of the herd escaped. It took a whole day to gather the animals again. They were small attacks, but constant, designed to wear them down, to show the judge could do whatever he wanted without consequences. Clara was desperate. Mr. Vincent, this is because of me. They're trying to make you give up on me. Maybe I should leave, take Samuel far away. You aren't going anywhere. Vincent held her shoulders. That is exactly what they want. To separate us, to weaken us. But they won't succeed. But what if they do something worse? What if they hurt Samuel? I won't let them. Vincent took the baby from her arms. Samuel was awake, little eyes curious. This boy is my son now. In my heart, he already is, and no one hurts my son. Clara began to cry, hugging Vincent and Samuel together. It was the first time they hugged for real, and Vincent felt something move in his chest. It wasn't romantic love, not yet, but it was something profound. It was family. It was Mrs. Mary who brought the news that would change everything. She had gone to town for groceries and returned in a rush, face red with indignation. "Boss, ma'am, you won't believe what I'm hearing." "What?" Vincent and Clara asked together. "Judge Sterling is spreading rumors that Miss Clara is insane, that she had a breakdown after the birth, that the baby doesn't even exist, that she invented everything, and that you, boss, are being manipulated by a mental patient." Clara went white. "They're trying to commit me. If they declare me insane, they can lock me in an asylum and take Samuel." Vincent felt his blood run cold. It was true. If they got a fake doctor's note, and with the judge's money and influence, it was perfectly possible. Clara would be forcibly committed, and without his mother, Samuel would be vulnerable. "No, I won't let that happen." Vincent grabbed his hat. "Jim, you stay here protecting them. No one enters. No one leaves." "I'm going to settle this." "Where are you going?" "To the judge's house. I'm ending this once and for all." Clara grabbed his arm. "Mr. Vincent, no. They'll arrest you. They'll say you trespassed, that you threatened." "Then let them say it. But I'm not staying here waiting for them to destroy us." He kissed her forehead, a quick gesture, almost paternal. "Trust me." Vincent rode to Judge Sterling's big house in town. It was an imposing mansion. Iron fence, manicured gardens. He banged on the gate hard until the groundskeeper appeared. "I'm here to speak with the judge. He doesn't receive visitors without. He will receive me. Tell him Vincent Turner is here. And if he doesn't come down now, I'm breaking this gate down and coming up." The groundskeeper, frightened, ran inside. Minutes later, Judge Sterling appeared on the balcony, silk robe over his nightclothes, an expression of irritation on his face. "What audacity to invade my home at night. Audacity is trying to commit an innocent girl to an asylum just because she doesn't fit your plans." Vincent approached the gate. "You are going to stop this, now. Or what?" Vincent pulled an envelope from his coat pocket and threw it over the gate. The judge picked it up, intrigued. "What is this?" "Open it." The judge opened it. Inside were papers, certificates, old documents, letters. He read quickly, and his face lost its color. "Where did you get this?" "It doesn't matter. What matters is that now I have proof. Proof that Richard isn't your biological son. Proof that you adopted him illegally 20 years ago to hide the scandal of your brother, who assaulted a maid. Proof that you forged documents, bribed officials, and built your entire reputation on lies." The judge was trembling. This is slander. It's the truth, and you know it. The dates match. The documents are original. And if I take this to the state prosecutor, your career is over. Your family becomes a laughingstock. And you, Judge Sterling, go to prison for forgery and corruption. The silence was so thick, you could hear the crickets singing. The judge looked at the papers, then at Vincent, calculating his options. Finally, with a hoarse voice, he asked, "What do you want?" "I want you to stop. Stop the attacks on my farm. Stop spreading lies about Clara. Stop trying to take Samuel. And mainly, go control your son. Because if Richard lays a finger on Clara or the baby, I hand all this to the press in the Capitol. Understood?" The judge gripped the papers tight. "And if I agree, you destroy this proof?" "No, I keep it, as insurance. You behave, the secret stays kept. You attack me, the whole world finds out." It was blackmail. It was dirty. But it was the only weapon Vincent had against a man who controlled local justice. The judge took a deep breath. Pride, battling survival. Finally, he nodded. Fine, you win. But this doesn't end here, Turner. One day, when you least expect it. Threats again? I thought we were past that phase. Vincent mounted his horse. Oh, and one other thing. At my wedding, next week, I expect to see you and your family in church, smiling, wishing happiness. Because that is what respectable people do, isn't it? The judge ground his teeth, but didn't answer. Vincent returned to the farm feeling the weight of victory mixed with nausea. He had played dirty. He had used blackmail. But he had protected his family. His family. When was it that he started thinking of Clara and Samuel as his family? He found Clara awake, waiting in the living room, Samuel sleeping in her lap. When she saw him enter, she jumped up. Well, what happened? Are you okay? Did he do anything? It's all resolved. They won't bother us anymore. How? What did you do? Vincent sat heavily in the armchair. Something I'm not proud of, but which was necessary. He told her about the documents, about the blackmail, about the forced agreement. Clara stood in silence, processing. Then she sat beside him and took his hand. Thank you for doing what needed to be done, for protecting us. Clara, Vincent looked at her, and it was like he was really seeing her for the first time. She wasn't just a girl he had saved anymore, not just someone he was protecting. She was Clara, the woman who sang to her son at dawn, who helped Mrs. Mary in the kitchen, even while... That I'm not doing this just out of obligation. I like you. I like having you here. I like hearing you sing. I like seeing you with Samuel. And I know you don't love me, and that's okay, but... Clara placed a finger on his lips, silencing him. Mr. Vincent, I like you too, very much. I don't know if it's love yet, but it's something. It's trust. It's affection. It's want. A week that passed too fast and too slow at the same time. Mrs. Mary prepared everything. Got a simple but beautiful wedding dress, borrowed from her daughter. Made paper flowers to decorate the church. Prepared a special dinner for after the ceremony. Father Anselm was moved. It is good to see love born from kindness, son. God blesses these unions. On the morning of the wedding, Vincent woke up early. He was nervous. He hadn't been nervous even when he married Constance. Back then, he was young and didn't think much. But now, at 38, he knew the weight of a commitment. He knew he was promising not only to care for Clara, but for Samuel too. He was becoming a father and a husband on the same day. He put on the suit he wore only on special occasions. Mrs. Mary straightened his tie. You look handsome, boss. Miss Clara will like it. Do you think I'm doing the right thing, Mrs. Mary? The old housekeeper smiled. I think you are doing what your heart commands, and that is always right. In the church, the town was divided. Half there out of morbid curiosity, half out of genuine affection for Vincent. And in the back, as promised, was Judge Sterling with his family, smiling. But it was an icy smile. Vincent waited at the altar, heart beating fast. And then the music started. Clara entered the church, and he forgot to breathe. She was beautiful. The simple white dress highlighted her natural beauty. Her loose hair fell over her shoulders, and in her arms, wrapped in a white blanket, was Samuel. She had insisted on carrying her son to the altar. I'm not marrying alone. We marry together, the three of us. Vincent Turner, do you take Clara Owens as your wife, to love and respect her, in joy and in sorrow, in health and in sickness, until death do you part? I do. The voice came out firm, without hesitation. Clara Owens, do you take Vincent Turner as your husband, to love and respect him, in joy and in sorrow, in health and in sickness, Until death do you part? I do. Clara smiled, tears running down. Then, by the power vested in me, I declare you husband and wife. Vincent, you may kiss the bride. Vincent leaned in and kissed Clara. It was a chaste kiss, almost shy, more a brushing of lips than anything. But it meant everything. It meant commitment. It meant family. It meant a new beginning. When they separated, Samuel began to cry, not in pain, but as if complaining about the delay. The whole church laughed, and in that moment, for the first time, Clara and Vincent felt complete. They left the church under a shower of rice. People applauded, and as they climbed into the decorated buggy, Vincent looked back one last time. Judge Sterling was at the church door, expression unreadable. But beside him, Richard looked on with pure hate. The war might have ended, but new enemies had been made, and Vincent knew he would need to remain vigilant. But for now, for this perfect moment, he simply held his wife's hand, looked at the son in her arms, and allowed himself to be happy. Life had given him a second chance, and this time he wasn't going to waste it. 6 months after the wedding, St. Anthony's farm was unrecognizable. Not in structure, although Vincent had repaired the burned barn and painted the big house anew, but by the life that pulsed in every corner. Samuel was already 6 months old, fat and healthy, and his crystal-clear laughter echoed through the house all the time. Clara had gained weight. Her eyes no longer held that frightened emptiness, and she moved through the farm with the confidence of someone who finally found her place in the world. Vincent woke up every day, and for a few seconds still found it strange not to be alone. But it was a good strangeness. He heard Clara humming in the kitchen while preparing coffee, heard Samuel babbling in the crib, and felt his chest warm with something he had forgotten. Belonging. One December morning, with the sun already rising strong, Vincent was in the corral helping old Jim with the cows when he heard shouts coming from the house. He dropped everything and ran. He found Clara on the porch, jumping for joy, Samuel in her arms. "Mr. Vincent! Mr. Vincent! Look what he did!" "What is it? Is everything okay?" He crawled. Samuel crawled for the first time. She was radiant, eyes shining with maternal pride. "I put him on the living room floor, and he went to the sofa all by himself. My son crawled." Vincent felt a wave of emotion take over him. He took Samuel from Clara's hands and lifted the boy in the air. "Look at you, little one, already turning into a big man." Samuel gave a hearty laugh, that baby laugh that is pure joy. And Vincent felt tears in his eyes. He was a father. For real. Not just on paper, not just in law, but in his heart. That boy was his as much as he would be if they shared the same blood. "We need to celebrate," Clara said, eyes also misty. "Bake a cake. Call Mrs. Mary. Call old Jim. We'll do better than that." Vincent put Samuel on the ground and took Clara's hands. "We're taking him to meet your mother." So today we go. We take the buggy, take Samuel, and you introduce your son to Mrs. Nora. Clara began to cry. "But what if my stepfather is there? What if he causes a scene?" "Then I deal with him. You are my wife. Samuel is my son. And a grandmother has the right to meet her grandson." An hour later, they were in the buggy, going up the dirt road that led to the humble house where Clara had grown up. It was a small shack, weather-beaten, with a patched tin roof. Clara squeezed Vincent's hand, nervous. What if she rejects me? What if she's ashamed of me? A mother isn't ashamed of her daughter. A mother misses her. They knocked on the door. There was silence, then shuffling steps. The door opened and Mrs. Nora appeared, older than Vincent expected. Hunched, white hair tied in a tight bun, eyes tired from suffering too much. When she saw Clara, she froze. Clara? My daughter? Hi, Mom. Mrs. Nora let out a cry and pulled her daughter into a tight hug, sobbing. My girl, I thought you had died. I prayed every day, every single day, for God to protect you. God protected me, Mom. He sent me an angel. Clara stepped back and pointed to Vincent. This is my husband, Vincent Turner. We married in church, Mom. Everything proper, everything blessed. Mrs. Nora looked at Vincent with gratitude in her eyes. You married my daughter? You took her and the child in? I did, and I'd do it again 1,000 times. Vincent approached. And this here is your grandson, Samuel Turner. When Clara put the baby in the grandmother's arms, Mrs. Nora fell apart. She cried, holding her grandson, kissing his chubby little face, stroking his dark hair. My grandson, my beautiful grandson. What a pretty baby. What a healthy baby. They spent the whole afternoon there. Mrs. Nora made coffee, brought out cornbread she had made that morning, and didn't stop looking at Samuel as if he were a miracle. Clara told her everything, the birth in the shack, how Vincent had saved her, the wedding, the new life at the farm. And Mrs. Nora cried and laughed at the same time. I wish I had been stronger, her mother said, holding Clara's hand. I wish I had defended you. But Joe, he's violent. He would have hurt you worse if I had let you stay. I know, Mom. I never blamed you. Never. And Richard, that wretch, did he leave you alone? His father is a judge, so he has influence. But Vincent handled it. Clara looked at her husband with admiration. He protected us. Mrs. Nora took Vincent's hand. Thank you. Thank you for taking care of my daughter, for giving her what I couldn't. You gave the most important thing, Mrs. Nora. You gave love. The rest is just circumstance. They were leaving, with the sun already starting to set, when Clara's stepfather appeared. Joe was a short, fat man, smelling of moonshine, with yellowed eyes from a sick liver. When he saw Clara, his face twisted in rage. What is this tramp doing here? Vincent stepped in front of Clara instantly. Watch your tongue. This lady is my wife. Wife? Joe gave a raspy laugh. You married this one? You know she's used goods, right? That she has a bastard by another man? I know, and I don't care. Samuel is my son, in heart and in law. Vincent took a step forward. And if I hear you speaking about my family again, if I find out you laid a finger on Mrs. Nora because of this visit, I'm coming back, and it won't be to talk. Joe looked at Vincent, a taller, stronger, sober man, and backed down. Get out, and don't come back. We come back whenever we want, because Mrs. Nora has the right to see her daughter and grandson. Vincent helped Clara up into the buggy, and you aren't going to stop it. They left Joe huffing with rage, but powerless. On the way back, Clara cried with relief and happiness. I saw my mother. She met Samuel. That is more than I dreamed. And you will see her again, every week if you want. No one will stop you. Clara leaned over and kissed Vincent. It was a kiss different from the others. Longer, deeper, charged with feeling. When they separated, she whispered, I love you. Vincent froze. It was the first time she had said it. What? I love you, Vincent. I don't know when it happened. I don't know how. But I love you. For real. He felt his chest explode. I love you too. I think for a while now. I was just afraid to admit it. They kissed again, there in the buggy, while Samuel slept in her lap. And the horses followed the familiar path back home. The following months were the happiest of Vincent's life. Clara was no longer just his wife on paper. She was his true partner. They had developed a lovely routine. They woke early, drank coffee together while Samuel played on the floor. Vincent went to work the fields. Clara took care of the house and their son. In the afternoon, they sat on the porch, Vincent with Samuel in his lap, Clara sewing, and they talked about everything and nothing. At night, after Samuel slept, they stayed in the living room reading together. Vincent had started teaching Clara to read better, and she devoured books with the hunger of someone who spent a life without access to knowledge. And when they went to sleep, they no longer went to separate rooms. They slept together, embraced, an intimacy that had grown naturally from affection and trust. Samuel was a year old when he took his first steps. It was on a Sunday afternoon, in the living room, with Vincent and Clara sitting on the sofa. The boy was leaning on the coffee table and suddenly let go, wobbled 3 steps toward his parents, and fell into Clara's arms. The two exploded in applause and laughter. Samuel, proud, clapped his hands too, without really understanding, but happy with the reaction. "Our son walked," Clara shouted, hugging the boy. "Our son," Vincent repeated, savoring the words. And it was true. Samuel didn't call him Mr. Vincent. He called him Daddy. He had learned on his own, naturally, because that is what Vincent was, Daddy. It was around this time that Clara discovered she was pregnant again. She told Vincent one night, nervous, not knowing how he would react. "What if you don't want it? What if it's too soon?" Vincent pulled her into a tight hug. "I want it. Of course I want it. Another child." Our family growing. He placed a hand on her still flat belly. "I'm happy, Clara, happier than I deserved. You deserve all the happiness in the world." The pregnancy was peaceful, different from the first, where Clara had known hunger and fear. Now she was cared for. Vincent brought fresh fruit from town. Mrs. Mary prepared nutritious meals. Dr. August, who had apologized for initially siding with Judge Sterling, made regular visits. And on a September morning, with the help of the midwife and Mrs. Mary, Clara gave birth to a girl. A perfect girl, with light eyes like her father, and dark hair like her mother. "What shall we call her?" Clara asked, exhausted but radiant, holding the baby. Vincent looked at his daughter, his blood daughter, the first one, and felt an overwhelming emotion. "Constance, if you agree, in honor of my first wife, because without her, without that pain, I never would have found you." Clara smiled. "Constance Turner, it's perfect." Samuel, 2 years old now, was fascinated by his baby sister. He wanted to hold her all the time, kissed her little face, brought his toys to her. Vincent watched his children, plural, children, and could hardly believe this was his life now. A year later, the farm was prospering. The harvests had been good, the cattle healthy, and Vincent had managed to buy the neighboring plot, expanding the property. But more important than that, the house was full of love. One Sunday afternoon, after church, they were returning to the farm when they saw a man sitting on the gate. When they got closer, Vincent recognized him. It was Richard Sterling. But something was different. Richard was thin, dirty, clothes torn, face marked by fresh bruises. He had nothing left of his former arrogance. Vincent stopped the buggy. Tense. "What do you want here?" Richard stood up with difficulty. I came to apologize." Clara squeezed Vincent's hand, nervous. The children were sleeping in the back seat of the buggy. "Apologize?" Vincent stepped down, suspicious. "After everything you did?" I know I don't deserve forgiveness. I know I was a coward, a liar, Richard swallowed hard. "My father died last month, heart attack. And before dying, he told me everything. Told me he had used blackmail to protect me. Told me the secrets you had discovered. Told me he had lied his whole life, including to me." He looked at Clara with eyes full of tears. "I found out I'm not the judge's legitimate son, that I'm the son of a rape. that my biological mother was a maid my uncle assaulted, and that I did the same thing, committed the same crime as my uncle. I used you, Clara, promised love and abandoned you, and that destroys me every day. Clara stepped down from the buggy slowly. Why are you telling me this now? Because I wanted you to know that I know. I know Samuel is my blood son, but I know he will never be my real son, because I didn't deserve him. Richard looked at Vincent. And I wanted to say thank you for doing what I didn't have the courage to do, for stepping up, for caring, for being a man. There was a long silence. Then Vincent spoke, voice firm. Samuel is my son in heart and in law, and that will never change. I know, and I didn't come to ask for anything, didn't come to claim anything, just came to say that I admire you both, that you built something beautiful, and that I am sorry, truly sorry, for what I did. Clara looked at that man she had once loved, who had broken her heart, who had almost destroyed her life, and she felt nothing. Not anger, not pain, just a slight sadness for who he could have been, but chose not to be. I forgive you, Richard, not for you, but for me, because I don't want to carry anger inside me. I only want to carry love. Richard wept. Thank you truly. He turned to leave but stopped. Take good care of him, of Samuel. He's lucky to have you as parents. He is, and we are lucky to have him as a son. They watched Richard walk away, stumbling down the dirt road. Clara leaned against Vincent, who hugged her from behind. Are you okay? I am, because I look at him and see what I escaped, and I look at you and see what I gained. We gained each other. They returned home, to the children who woke up and started making noise, to the life they had built brick by brick, kiss by kiss, choice by choice. 5 years later, St. Anthony's farm was known throughout the region, not only for its produce, but for the love that overflowed from it. Vincent and Clara had 2 more children, a boy named Peter and a girl named Anna. Samuel, 7 years old, helped his father on the farm and went to school in town. Constance, 5, was the princess of the house, spoiled by everyone but good-hearted. Mrs. Nora had moved into a small cottage Vincent built on the property after Joe died. Cirrhosis, the inevitable end for those who drink too much. The grandmother spent her days looking after the grandkids, happy to finally have her family reunited. On a summer evening, with the sun setting orange over the mountains, Vincent and Clara were sitting on the porch, watching the children play in the yard. Samuel was teaching Constance to fly a kite. Peter and Anna were running after the chickens, laughing. Are you happy? Vincent asked suddenly. Clara looked at him, at the husband who had saved her life, and then filled it with love. Very. More than I thought possible. And you? I am complete. For the first time in my life, I am complete. He took her hand. You know I love you, right? More than words can say. I know, and I love you too, you and our family. This beautiful family we built from pain and turned into joy. We made something beautiful, didn't we? We did. Even starting in the ugliest way possible, we made something beautiful. Samuel came running up to them. Dad, Mom, look at the kite. It's flying super high. Vincent pulled his son into a hug. It really is, champ. You're good at this. It's because you taught me. Samuel smiled, then ran back to play. Clara rested her head on Vincent's shoulder. You know what I think? I think we weren't saved that stormy night. We were found. Found by each other. Found by the life we deserve to have. That's a beautiful way to see it. It's the true way. And there, on that porch, with the sun setting and the children laughing, with life pulsing in every corner of that farm, Vincent and Clara understood the greatest lesson of all, that family isn't about blood. Family is about who stays, who chooses, who loves even when it's hard, who builds together, brick by brick, kiss by kiss, choice by choice. Samuel wasn't Vincent's blood son, but he was his heart's son. And in the end, the heart is what matters. The storm that had brought Clara and the nameless baby to Vincent that June night had been the greatest blessing in disguise he could have received. Because from that night of tragedy, a family was born. Love was born. Life was born. And if that wasn't a miracle, Vincent didn't know what was. The story of Vincent Turner, Clara Owens, and Samuel has come to an end. A journey of abandonment, redemption, unlikely love, and chosen family in the rural countryside of 1958. May this story inspire everyone who read it never to give up hope. Because sometimes salvation comes when we least expect it, on a stormy night, with hands outstretched, ready to turn tragedy into a miracle.